Okay, with this video, this is basically going to be my first review video. But what I would like to do is go into why I think the opening of Halloween 2018 was so good and why it's my favorite of the franchise. The opening scene, I mean. Just as a background, I went to see the original Halloween in 1978 in the theaters. I was 7 years old. My older brother took me there as a joke, to scare the shit out of me, and it worked. Back then, there was really nothing like Halloween. I mean, it was the first time we got to see that mask, and Carpenter did such a brilliant job portraying Michael as a human being, but with things that make you wonder, like, who or what is this thing or man? The two things that stood out with me when I left the theater was Michael's breathing, which you can really only get that really well in the theater. You don't really get it when you watch it at home on DVD or Blu-ray. You don't really hear it well. You hear it really well in the theater. And the way he acted, so detached from humanity. But everything he does in the movie, especially to a 7-year-old child, in their mind, could happen. So that to me makes it scarier when you think, a guy, a mental patient could break out and do some of these things to a child, that really will stick in their mind. And Nick Castle's portrayal of Michael still stands out. It's still the benchmark, and it's why a character wearing a mask who doesn't say a word is so iconic. He was completely unpredictable, totally unnerving, and I've been a huge Halloween fan since. But no other Michael in all the sequels ever had the same quality as that original until I went to see Halloween 2018. The opening shows basically the argument that people have had through the whole franchise with Michael, with the two views people usually have of him. You have the Dr. Loomis and now Sartain's view that Michael is extremely dangerous. He's totally evil. He can't be treated. He can't be helped. He is what he is, and nothing's ever going to change that. He needs to be kept in prison. In Loomis's view, sorry. In Loomis's view, he needed to be killed, which was probably the right view. Now, the reporters in 2018 have the view that many people have had in the series, like, the cops that Loomis would run into, even other doctors, that Michael is just another patient. He's just mentally ill. The reporters actually say, and I quote, Michael Myers is a human being that killed his sister when he was 6 years old. This shows that these people really have no idea what the hell they're getting into. And they think that Michael, if treated correctly, could probably be reached and would be like a normal, productive member of society, which, as we know, could never and will never happen. We finally get to see Michael in Smith's Grove, which I've really always wanted to see. And you hear Sartain say he's been seen by more than 50 psychiatrists, and they all had different opinions of what was going on with him. He then says Loomis was the only one to see him in the wild, and that Loomis's view was that he was nothing but pure evil. The shot of the checkerboard yard, especially from high up, looked to me like a Stanley Kubrick shot from The Shining. That was brilliantly done. And seeing the patients, handcuffed and chained to cement blocks with, the square painted around them, it shows just how dangerous these people are without going into the over-the-top kind of, almost cartoon-like monologue that, the security guard in the opening of H4 had. I mean, you don't really need that with Michael. When I first seen the trailer, I was like a lot of people, and I thought, why the hell would a psychiatrist let him pull out a mask and start antagonizing Michael like that? It doesn't make any sense. But when you see the film, it's, immediately answered that Sartain is looking for any way to get Michael to speak or get any response because he's totally frustrated that he's never been able to reach Michael. We also get, the first, hint of how detailed these filmmakers are going to be with Michael, because you finally get to see, the dead eye that Michael would have from having a coat hanger stuck in there, and I still have no idea how every single movie after the first one never, I mean, part two obviously didn't have to do that, but the rest of them never had that in it. I mean, it's just, it was either they really didn't know the franchise or they were just too lazy to do it, but that eye is just creepy as hell. And it wouldn't take a lot of money to do that in every film. And the thought of looking into that eye when you're face to face with Michael would be unnerving, to say the least. I did hear a lot of complaints that Michael was, quote unquote, an old man in this movie, which this started my road down this of just what, people complaining about nonsensical or nitpick things. Michael was born in 1957. It's now 2018. What should he look like? I mean, people were actually making an argument like he should look like he did in 1978 forever, like he shouldn't age. If you're saying he shouldn't age because he turned evil, then he would look like he did when he first turned evil, a 6-year-old child. This is absurd, but this is the two camps of how people want Michael. One side wants him to be as Carpenter intended. Michael is a man, but with supernatural qualities, things that make him creepy, super strong, and not feel pain like a normal human being. But if you blow Michael's head off, Michael will die. He will be dead. He won't be coming back. The other camp wants Michael to be like Jason, a totally supernatural character that cannot be killed. I cannot stress this enough. This portrayal of Michael is not scary, nor is it compelling. These characters become absurd so fast, and horror goes into comedy really fast. Once Michael goes into the totally make-believe and not an escaped mental patient, I lose all interest in him. I mean, the ways that they had to bring Jason back from the dead over and over and over made those movies just, they're not horror movies, they're comedies. Michael's age means absolutely nothing to me. The people that said running into an old man in a bathroom isn't scary, that's a ridiculous statement. The 2018 bathroom scene, in my opinion, is the most brutal and realistic view of violence in the whole franchise. Period. I can understand some people wishing he had the mask on, but that didn't bother me because that's why Michael's there, to get his mask. I've heard the argument that Michael bangs a guy's head off of bars in H6 and that was better, and I had to really start laughing. Michael pushes a guy's head into prison bars, and that, in that scene, and somehow prison bars fall down because of that. This is more of that total supernatural horseshit. Michael grabs Aaron and slams his head off of every wall in that bathroom, and then uses it as a battering ram to break through the stall. Then he tosses him aside while he's still alive, so he can watch him strangle and break his girlfriend's neck. Yeah, there's nothing scary at all about that old man. I'd love to bump into him. Just as an FYI to anyone wondering if Aaron actually does die, in the novelization of Halloween 2018, which I read, and you should probably read if you like the movie, it has a lot of extra scenes, and it's only about $7, and it's really well-written book. He does die in the book. So, I mean, they could bring him back in the movies if they wanted, I guess, but he does die in the novel. But getting back to the opening scene, we know Michael has been here for 40 years, and Sartain never mentions that he's killed anyone there, so he's been back into that state where Loomis said he stared at a wall for 15 years. 40 years is a really long time, but what is it to Michael? This is why he is so fascinating as a character. We have no idea what is going on in his head. Rob Zombie totally missed this aspect of Michael Myers. It makes you wonder, is there a clock that goes off inside of him? Does he need to be provoked? Are there certain memories that make the violence resurface? But the reporters that come in kind of do all three of these things to him. Michael senses the mask, and upon being reminded of 1978, you see his hands clench. But the biggest, hint the evil is awakening is what happens around Michael, not what Michael is doing himself. The other patients are totally aware Michael is becoming furious and that something is wrong. They are blocking their ears, they're pulling at their chains to try and get away from there. Obviously they cannot, but they're trying their best. They have no idea what's going on, but they know something's wrong. There is the one guy in the wheelchair who seems pretty happy with this. I would suspect this man is no stranger to violence either. And he seems to be saying, feed the wolf. That this guy would probably love to see Michael go on a rampage through that yard. The other big response we get is from the guard dog, because dogs, as we know, can sense things human beings cannot. And the dog was no doubt feeling something is going on with Michael. Holding out the mask, yelling at Michael while all the patients are screaming and jerking at their chains while the dog is uncontrollably barking, show all the chaos going on, all while Michael stands totally still, totally silent, showing what Loomis said long ago. No conscience, no reason, no understanding. With a blank, pale, emotionless face. But now the evil is reawakened. The shot ends with the pumpkin being brought back to life, and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I would like your thoughts on the opening scene and what you liked or disliked about it, and I'll do another one of these soon. I'll talk to you later.